Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Mr. Sean, and this is Chimera Miniatures' official YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, this is my channel where I make entertaining videos as a way to get some free advertising for my business, Chimera Miniatures, where I sell, as you probably could guess, custom miniatures, both RPG and HeroClix, as well as several other collectibles. Please help my channel and business grow by liking, subscribing, and be sure to comment. And if you really like what you hear, maybe check the links out and buy a mini. Also in the description will be a link to my Discord server, which is for me and several other craft creators to try and maybe get a bigger following for our wares. As people who make custom tabletop accessories and whatnot and all kinds of art and craft-based things, it can be a little hard to get your work out there, so I wanted to make a Discord server that's free to join, that anybody can join, and people can share their work, and you can even reach out to the creators directly and maybe commission something if you like what you see. Just trying to do my part to help out the local crafter community. Today we're heading back into r/Neckbeard Stories, an old favorite that I haven't done anything from in a minute, so I figured I'd go see what's new and maybe read a few stories from there. So without further ado, let's get to it. Our first story today comes from Pessy Messy and is called Neckbeard Convention Story. Don't really post on Reddit, but I listened to a lot of Reddit readings of this sub and decided to finally contribute with a story that happened last year at a convention. I should note that at the time I was 13 and he appeared to be late to mid-20s, which makes this all the more creepy. This was my first con I attended in cosplay. I decided to cosplay Violet from Persona 5 Royale. Is it Royale? Royal? I don't know. Moving on. I bring this up because if you know her character, you know her thighs are very, exposed. I actually don't know this character. Let's take a look and bring up an image. Okay, yeah, no, thighs are very exposed on this character. I wish we lived in a world where a 13-year-old could cosplay as this character and nobody would creep on them, but we do not live in that world. Let's continue on with the story. Looking back on it, I am so shocked my mom let me out the door wearing what I was wearing. The con was a lot of fun. I was with a friend group and my ex-boyfriend, so I suppose my mom trusted I'd be safe. I don't know, I don't think my mom would have trusted a girl to dress like that and hang out with her boyfriend away from her supervision, but that was just the house I grew up in. Sounds like you've got a pretty cool mom, OP. Throughout the course of the day, I noticed this odd character in the corner of my eye, suspiciously behind me wherever I would go. I don't know why I didn't say anything, but I ignored it. We'll call him, Kamoshida. Keep it in the Persona theme. It's funny if you know the context. Again, I don't, but I'll take your word for it. Or wait, was Kamoshida the gym principal who creeped on the young girls? I didn't play much Persona, but I think I did get that far. Okay, yes, he is the character that I thought he was. Yeah, that was a really weird kind of way to start off Persona 5. Like, I'll be honest, what little more I played of it, the other people that were just doing, like, things that were kind of bad didn't really stack up to the first boss who was actually, like, assaulting the girls that he was supposed to be their gym coach. Like, that he was such a creep. Like, if anything, the stakes were kind of lower after that, because, like, oh, what's this guy doing? Oh, he's claiming other people's paintings as his own. Oh, what was the last guy doing? Oh, he was assaulting underage girls. Like, I'm willing to let the painting thief go before I'd be okay with what the first boss is doing. Like, you're supposed to build malevolence, and you kind of, like, threw it to the worst possible scenario with the very first boss. Not the direction I would have gone, but, you know, you definitely wanted to see him pay for his crimes. And after that fascinating tangent, let's get on with the story. After a few hours of walking through the vending hall, me and my friends decided to sit down for a bite to eat and to rest our feet. Two of my friends walked away to get food from the concessions, and my boyfriend had gone to the bathroom. I bring this up because it was this moment Kamoshida decided to finally approach me for a photo op. I don't know if it was because he was confident approaching me without my boyfriend around me, or if it was a coincidence or whatever. Jeez, I can't fucking read. The red flags should have been going off the second he pulled a 3DS out of his bag to get a picture with me, but I never say no to a photo in cosplay. So I posed for the photo and expected nothing else but a quick snap, and then I could go back to what I was doing with my friends. Instead, after he got his photo, he proceeded to smell my hair, smack my butt, and walk away like nothing ever happened. I was just sort of stunned and stood there because I didn't know how to react. My boyfriend came back a few minutes later and I recounted the tale, and the rest of the day was pretty much uneventful because I never saw Kamoshida after that. I heard one of my friends say he was escorted out of the con by staff, but I didn't see this personally. But if it's true, I believe it. I don't know how to end this. I've never posted on Reddit before. OP, I am sorry that you had to have that happen to you at your first con experience. I do hope it won't turn you off of cons in the future. Sounds like it doesn't. You were a pretty tough person, but that's not something anybody should ever have to deal with. Unwanted touching. Cosplay does not equal consent. I know that means different things to different people. I personally believe if people are just snapping photos of people in costumes they see with their cameras, that's, you're going somewhere in public with a costume on, that's gonna happen, but people don't have the right to touch you, to put their hands on you in a way you haven't consented to, and especially 20-somethings should not be doing this to underage girls. So I am sorry. Allow me to apologize on behalf of the non-creepy con community for the creepy experience you had, and I do hope that you will continue to cosplay characters you love and not worry and hopefully not experience what you did on your first outing. As for Kamoshida, I don't understand why you would take a photo on a 3DS. Do you not have like a smartphone like the rest of us? I don't know, is there something creepy he can do with a 3DS? OP kind of made a statement that she should have known something was wrong. I don't know the capabilities of the 3DS camera. I'm probably just imagining like a Game Boy camera, which is terrible. I assume the 3DS probably has something a little better, but I remember the screen not being huge, so I don't know. But yeah, Kamoshida, if you go to other cons, which I assume you will, assuming you haven't been banned from all of them, don't touch people. Nobody wants to be touched by you. Our next story comes from user Studio Society, and it's called Emo Neckbeard in High School. What can go wrong? Kind of NSFW. So I'm in high school, and in my freshman year, I hung with so much emos, but I had this particular friend who's this emo neckbeard. He called himself Shadow. Of course he fucking did. He was interesting. When I went to this 8th grade promotion, I asked him to come. I hadn't seen him in a while due to COVID, and I'd love it if he came. He did, but he was waiting in front of a church next to the school I went to. He wasn't like on his phone or sitting down. He was fucking eye-dogging nothing. He was just staring off. It was creepy as fuck. Not due to him being scary. He looked like a pedophile. Speaking of pedophile, he'd constantly make sexual remarks about this girl I liked when I was in middle school. I'll be honest, Opie, I'm having a little trouble getting through this one. Your grammar and cadence is a little weird, but you are just like a freshman in high school, so I'll give you a pass. She's a pretty fun person to talk to. She told me it was funny at first, but it's just weird now. But he'd also say some cringe anime lines from random animes. I knew they were from an anime, but I didn't know what anime. I've only really watched 1 or 2 Dragon Ball movies, but he'd also have this violent part in his mind. He never acted out on it, he'd only talk about it. Another thing is pretty typical, he'd smell like shit. Why the fuck did you want this person coming to an event, OP? He sounds awful. He showered, kind of, but he'd wear cheap, and when I say cheap, I'm talking way too cheap cologne. He'd often show me his rings that were claimed to be real, but they were just hard plastic. Another interesting thing he would do is act like he was some sort of predator, like a wolf. He'd wear a dog collar sometimes. No one was pulling it. The chain would be connected to his chain in his pocket. Keep in mind he also wanted to show his anime godlike body, so he'd wear this fishnet shirt. He looked less like an anime god and more of an emo bear. Once I was trying to sleep, but he texted me saying stuff how he hurt his stepdad and was sent to a hospital. When I asked which one, he said something about it being gothic. Where I live, the only gothic place is this church. He'd also talk about sex to me, not having it with me, though he liked guys and girls. He understood that I'm not into that, but the way he'd do it was shitty. He'd be disrespectful about it. I say he should have just said, I'm gonna have sex with insert name, and I would have just said, cool, you know? But there was a time I stopped talking to him after some rumors went around about him. Little did I know those rumors were true. Are true. At first he was really funny and he'd be joking a lot, but now he's just a prick. I found out he beat his fucking ex and guilt trip her. I feel bad, but she's no better than him. But the last thing he ever told me was, I'm getting stronger as time progresses. OP, I know you're young, and, but, like, at least I think you're young. You didn't say if this is, like, something that was a while ago or what, but this is not a friend. This guy is awful, and it's clear that I don't think he necessarily means to be awful. I think, like a lot of people your age, he's just confused about who he wants to be, and he kind of is in that mode where he thinks any attention is good attention. But the problem is that what he's doing, even at such a young age, is borderline criminal, if not actually criminal, and I think he's only going to get worse if nobody just, puts the boots to him. So, I think you need to get away from this person, OP. I'm not talking low contact, I'm talking no contact. Just don't bother with this person. They're only going to be on a downward spiral. I knew some edgy goth emo people like this in high school. They weren't quite this bad, but I'm wearing my fishnet shirt, or I'm wearing a dog collar because I'm some kind of sex pervert. And it's like, yeah, no, you're not. No, nobody, you're not. None of us are. We're all fucking freshmen. And of course, we all had the friend who everything out of their mouth in high school was somehow a sexual innuendo because, they probably wrote stories about what they think sex was like that aren't actually accurate. Kind of like I went to this thing at a con where people were reading fan fiction called Sonic High School, and it involved, oddly enough, Shadow the Hedgehog, which this guy probably likes, and it was clear that whoever wrote this Sonic High School did not understand how sex worked. Our next story comes from Interesting Ad 4210, and it's called Neckbeard Creeping on Girl Who Works at the Supermarket? ? Sorry, I didn't know how to phrase that in the form of a question. So let me tell you what happened the other day. I work a part-time at a local market called No Frills. I'm a stalker, and the other day I was doing the usual stuff, which is just putting the items on the shelves, and I see a guy. Probably on drugs. He was skinny, had facial features that I often see in drug users, and had worn clothing. But anyway, he was just going around, nothing to worry about. I just noticed that he walked twice through the same aisle where I was working, all while giving me a weird look. And I'm like, anyway, I like attention, nothing to worry about. But then, after like 15 minutes, I see him again with nothing on him. Like, did you just go around the store for 15 minutes while just looking around? He was staring at me the whole time, but this time he gets close to grab something from the shelves while staring me in the eyes. For context, I have long hair, a ponytail, round glasses, and I take care of myself, so I guess he thought I was cute or something. There is just one problem. I'm not a girl, yo. That's just how I look, lol. I sometimes get confused for a girl, which is not something that bothers me and actually is just fun. Anyway, since I was probably in his way, I moved the cart with the items I had to stock, while putting my Giga Chad voice to say, "Oh sorry, let me get this out of the way." He kinda looked confused and scared for a second. Then he said thanks and left. Didn't see him again afterwards. So either he spent like 20 minutes to buy one item, or I don't know, to be honest. Anyways, that's today's story. Sorry for the bad English. I'm not from here, and English is not my first language. No, OP, I think you nailed it. I think he thought you were some girl that he was gonna creep on. He was gonna try and, I don't know, maybe be like, what's his face? Kamishita, and try and smell your hair, maybe cop a feel, but, good for you for putting on the Giga Chad voice and showing him that he was going to be potentially grabbing something he didn't want to. I have no doubt in my mind that this guy thought he could creep on you and intimidate you, and but he's, like most of these guys, he's actually a coward in real life. So the second he realized you weren't a woman, and therefore not a gender he sees as lesser than, he got scared. Also, I'm glad that you're not offended by people mistaking who you are, like mistaking you for a girl. I know a lot of guys who that would really get under their skin, but you seem to be a good sport about it. So, good story, OP. I really liked it. Next up, user Laser Tea Time brings us some old country cringe. When I was in high school, I joined the anime club. I grew up during the Western anime boom, right when manga got super popular. Popular enough to totally drown out regular comic books in the school library. That must have been after I graduated from high school, because manga was around, but I don't think our school library had any of it. But then again, I don't think we had any comic books either. Must be nice to be a weeb in today's high schools. We had 2 tall shelves full of manga and about 1/4 row of American comics. This was a big deal. It made the anime club possible. We had 11 members. When I stopped going to focus on my studies in my last year, it exploded past 20 members. Important note, in the beginning the club was all girls, except for one guy who had a waifu. His waifu was from Guilty Crown. I don't know what that is, but okay. This is an important detail. We all lived in a country town with a cute downtown. When we found out an anime store was somehow actually opening downtown, we went nuts. I mean, I live in and around Columbus, Ohio, and Ohio has everything you could ever want, but if there are so few like just anime, just manga stores, even in Ohio, which has a huge weeb population, so I could see, country town or not, this definitely would be a big deal. I knew we all had to go as a group. All of the OG anime club girls stampeded the place, with our wallets wide open. I met my first neckbeard there. I'm sorry, OP. The store is closed now. It failed before I graduated. Sadly, OP, I am not surprised by that. It is very hard for a store like that to make it even today, even in the post-COVID retail boom that seems to be going on. It still would be very hard for a just anime and manga store to survive. It was half a store, which shared the space with a clothing shop. It was run by the owner, who had no employees. He was a neckbeard on the younger side. He rolled his eyes at us. 10 customers. He rolled his eyes over and over when we tried to talk to him, refused to answer our questions, and he looked at his phone the whole time. Listen, if this store was good, we would have been in weekly. I will never understand why business owners let sexism screw them out of money. He definitely closed because he was terrible at customer service in general, but the D&D club reported that he was okay-ish, but his store didn't have a lot of stuff. Alright, so another tangent here. I remember there was a store that opened up not far from where I used to live, in kind of the Dublin, Ohio area, and it was called Fog of War or something like that. I don't remember. That might have been its name after it was bought by somebody else. But it was a new game store, like miniatures, tabletop stuff like that, and it opened. And I went in. I was the only customer, and the owner was sitting there building a model airplane. And I wanted to know about his store, what kind of events he was going to be hosting, what kind of stuff he was going to be getting in, because he was brand new. And the entire time, he just seemed annoyed that I was interrupting him from building his model. And that store didn't last long. That guy ended up having to sell it, and then the people that bought it ended up going out of business. But I remember one of the things he told me is he had researched what place needed a good gaming store, and it was between Ohio and Washington State. And because Washington had so many game stores, he figured he'd come and give Ohio the game store it needed. But his store sucked, he didn't have much, and he had terrible customer service. And you know what? His store went out of business, just like this guy's. Waifu Guy went by himself a few weeks later, and he claimed the owner offered to order in merch of his waifu for him. I was really offended, and I was a dumb girl, so I kept going back until he laughed in my face when I asked him about shoujo manga. I'm glad your boy's only business model collapsed, dude. You were mean to kids for a living, and you deserved what you got. This is something you see a lot in the neckbeard community, where they don't see women as real fans because either one, they think they like things for the wrong reasons, or two, they think they like the wrong thing. I actually saw this a lot when I was a HeroClix game judge, and I would hear people go on and on about how, oh god, I hate the MCU, it's brought in all these fake fan females. A guy was going on and on about how the only reason girls know who Groot is because of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and because he's cute. And I was like, dude, the Guardians movie is the only reason I know anything about Groot. Stop judging why people are fans of something, and just enjoy the fact that there are more people, that your fandom, the thing you like, is becoming more popular. This gives you opportunities to meet people, to interact with people, to not be the weird guy. There was a time when liking superhero comics as an adult made you weird. Now, it's normal. When I was running the HeroClix tournaments, and one of my friends who was not a fan of that kind of stuff, he's like, oh, is it weird to be running a tournament that is just a bunch of kids go to, thinking it was like Pokemon card tournaments for kids? And I said, dude, other than if somebody brings their son, I, as an early 20s something, am the youngest guy there. Like, these games where you were playing as tiny superhero armies against each other, I mean, the average age was around 40. And I think it's great that people who have kind of been on the outskirts, on the fringe socially, are now being welcomed into the fold for just liking what they like. And yes, people might like things differently, they might like it in a different way, but American comics, manga, anime, just nerd culture in general has become mainstream, and I think it's great, and people really need to stop judging people because they don't fit what they think a nerd is and should be. I've mentioned her before, but I have a younger sister who, honestly, like, if I had to describe her, I'd use the term either blonde sorority girl or like Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, and she is as much of a nerd as I am, if not bigger. She has some really nerdy hobbies, but she constantly deals with people looking at her like she's a fake fan of things because she doesn't even look like the traditional nerdy girl, let alone a traditional nerd. And I feel bad for her because I can go pretty much anywhere and they'll be like, oh yeah, you're a nerd, but she isn't as easily welcomed beyond guys that potentially want to get with her. And I think that's really sad that people can't just platonically welcome everyone into the fold. But as we saw in this story, if you're trying to do that in a way you run a business, you're gonna fail. And that's good, because you deserve to. Our next story comes from user Local Juggalo and is called My Brother Used to Be a Neckbeardy Incel with No Damn Morals. As the title says, my older bro used to be a neckbeard from freshman to junior year of high school. I'll call him Brobeard because he's my older bro. So he can't really grow a beard, but it's the beard on the inside that counts. Cast: me, a nerdy, Faygo-addicted juggalo who needs to drink more water and study for math more often. Brobeard, my older, previously neckbeardy incel bro. He was and still is heavily into anime and video games, but it's lessened over time. Mom, my mother, who while being really nice, has the shortest temper for my brother's bullshit. Also bad at math. I really hope that comes up in the story and isn't just you digging on your mom's math ability. Some neckbeardy things he did was, 1. He would only shower 2 times a month because it's only a social construct. No fuck ass, it's not. I can smell you from the other side of the house. 2. He would play video games for hours on end and stay up all night waking everyone up. Okay, playing video games for hours isn't that beardy on its own, but being inconsiderate, definitely a beard trait. 3. He described himself as confident, even though in reality he was more ignorant. But as George Michael said, to the heart and mind, ignorance is kind. 4. He could not take any kind of criticism even if you said it in the nicest way possible, because he would just whine about how mean you were to him and he would make you apologize by stealing your shit till you apologize to him. I like how he was able to do the mental gymnastics to think the apology was sincere when he was holding your shit for ransom, OP. 5. He blamed women for all of his problems and would call me a foid, so I looked up the male version and started calling him a moid to offend him. Okay, there's the incel bit. I wondered where that was going to show up, because so far he was just kind of beardy. I can't even imagine calling my own sister a foid. A little story that relates to number 1 is how I got him outside by telling him we were going to the store, but instead I led him outside and hosed him down because he smelled fucking horrendous, and he got pissed and told our mom. She told me to stop being a bitch to my older brother. This was not the first time this happened. In fact, it was the 3rd time this happened. I just got yelled at this time. That reminds me of one time we were hanging out, and one of my neckbeardy friends was with us, and he smelled absolutely awful, and we just started spraying him with Lysol to try and deal with it. He was so mad at us, but we're like, dude, maybe you should shower. Story 2 is about how he tried to buy an anime body pillow, but our mother said absolutely not and threatened to burn the thing if he didn't return it. So my brother had gone to a very neckbeardy game store in our area and had gotten a naughty anime body pillow. When I looked the thing up, it was from a very well-known hentai company that sold merchandise of its characters. Anyway, he brought the thing home and propped it up on his bed. He thought our mom would never know. Well... Mom: Brobeard, time for... What the fuck is that thing? Brobeard: well, it's my... Mom: Get that thing out of my damn house! Brobeard: Why? Mom: Because I said so. Now if you don't return it, I'm going to burn it. Brobeard: Okay. He returned it with a disappointed look on his face and near tears. I was in the background giggling like a rat being tickled. At some point in the summer of his junior year, our mom made him go to therapy because she was sick of his shit. If you want to know more about him crawling out of this headspace, I will tell you all if enough people ask. No, I don't hate my brother, but he would piss me off with his shitty antics and how he never wanted to talk about anything but atheism or himself. He's doing much better now and can laugh about how dense he was. I think that's the funny thing about atheist neckbeards is they always talk, they preach about their atheism, yet they do believe in a god, but that god just happens to be themselves, which is even funnier. Mainly because, and I don't like to make fun of religion here, I'm making fun of the neckbeard specifically, they talk about how stupid it is for people to believe in a deity, yet they see themselves as godlike, which is even more, ignorant, if you ask me, because, you know, none of us are Gilgamesh. We're not even 2/3 God. We're just people, and if you don't believe in things that are supposedly actual gods, you certainly aren't one. Alright guys, I think we have time for 2 more shorter stories and then we'll call it a day. So our next story comes from I Still Dream in Indigo and is entitled Diamond in the Rough. I have a couple of stories of typical neckbeards on here. I know that being interested in anime and samurai swords and trench coats aren't inherently neckbeard things. It's a mentality issue, so maybe this one won't count, but I need to talk about him anyway. OP, I don't think it inherently means that you're a neckbeard, but it definitely means you're walking a dangerous path. I speak from experience on that one. When I was around 15, I was friends with this guy. I'll call him Jay. Different Jay than in my other story, his standard uniform was indeed a trench coat. Sometimes he carried those over-the-top dragon knives. At 15, he didn't have a beard per se, but he was cultivating a goatee. It was blonde and patchy. My other friend and I would tease him about it. He took it all in stride. He liked his style, even if we also teased him for the Axe body spray. I know there was this thing when I was in high school that for a while guys thought women loved Axe body spray, and that was not the case, but I also remember in theater there was a bathroom in the back theater hallway that was the men's room, and while the guys were supposed to be able to change in there, the women would kind of take it over during showtime. So what did we do to keep them away is we unloaded an entire can of Axe body spray in there as a kind of girl repellent so that we had a place to change for our scenes. Yeah, women don't like Axe body spray. We were actually pretty good friends for quite some time. He had charm, self-awareness, he was kind. Once my brother and I were hanging out at Jay's house and my brother was being mean to me. Jay jokingly tackled him to defend my honor. One of the things that sticks out most to me is how much fun he was to be around. Not just because he had a crush on me, but because he was a generally nice dude besides. He got along with everyone, he threw fun parties, he had a solid relationship with his parents and siblings. He was a good friend. We fell out of touch after a while. I know he wanted to be a neurosurgeon, but I don't know if he achieved that. We haven't spoken in 8 years. I hope he's well and still thriving in his interests. My point in posting this, I low-key miss having him as a friend, and I wonder if he still likes samurai swords and trench coats. OP, I think you hit the nail on the head here that while we do call people that are into these things neckbeards, it's not that we're, yes, because that is something they often have is a neckbeard. When you're talking about a neckbeard, you're using it as a pejorative term to talk about people that are specifically, it's more of an emotional thing than just the aesthetic. You can like literally everything neckbeards like, including their fashion sense, and still not be awful to be around, and you'll never get called a neckbeard. You're just some dude. You're just Jay in this case. But you become Jay Beard when you cross that line into doing all the terrible things that get you called a neckbeard. It's like there's a difference between virgin and incel. Ultimately, you're right. It is a mentality issue more than it is about anything physical or even what your interests and hobbies are. I do hope that this J person did well, that he never succumbed to the more detrimental sides of beardery, and I hope he's thriving, just like I hope you are, OP. And our final story today comes from Elias Swanberg and is called Neckbeard Fails College Because of Women. I don't know if this actually falls into the neckbeard category, so you decide. Also, please read, Vincey. Well, sorry buddy, you got Mr. Sean today, not Vincey. At work, this guy, A, was bragging about his lifestyle. He told everyone he was a huge playboy in college, also referred to women as females or sluts. A told everyone that he was studying to be a history teacher and that it was going to be very easy because he's a genius that knows history better than most people. Well, his first attempt to make himself look cool was hitting on a lesbian couple claiming he can give them a great time and turn them straight again. A really sucked at his job, so people disliked him very quickly. We stacked boxes and trailers and he couldn't stack walls to save his life. And always claimed he was tired or distracted by all the women he was chasing. Well, at the end of December 2022, he randomly told everyone that he had to quit because he flunked college with a .4 GPA and that it was all women's fault for seducing him and dressing slutty. A left after calling the lesbian girls sluts and claimed they sent him lewd pics, and that he was willing to give them to all the other guys who worked there the pics. Luckily, everyone declined and threatened to report him, but he quit before they could. Side notes. A also told all the men his flawless secret to pick up girls was to just buy them things until they owe you sex. He also kept trying to invest in my band, work in progress, by using Bitcoin scams and by boosting our popularity by hiring females, to go to shows. He was also a follower of Andrew Tate and called himself an alpha male, and he for some reason called me a Chad for being single. By my choice, I have problems I need to work on. I don't necessarily think this guy has done anything that makes him a neckbeard, but he's definitely an incel. Like, if anything, it would be better if he was a neckbeard, because neckbeards usually are just like one tier higher in not being a total piece of shit than incels are. And again, the fact that at the end you said he was a follower of Andrew Tate just clinches his inceldom, because that only incels idolize Andrew Tate. And even not all of them do, because Andrew Tate is a total piece of shit. But anyway, yeah, I used to work with this guy who thought of himself as a pretty big ladies' man, though we never actually saw him with any women. He did go to the strip club a lot, but his name started with a B, and he was talking about a girl. He instead of saying that some girl would want the D, he was like, yeah, she wants the B. We didn't know if he was putting on an act because he was actually gay and just didn't like women but didn't want anyone to know, or if he just really was just talking a lot of crap because he wanted us to think he was some kind of Lothario, even though we knew we never saw him have a date in like the 4 years that we worked with him. I think this guy is probably very similar. And guys, that's going to be the video today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you can't think of a comment, just tell me which story was your favorite from today, so that I know you got all the way to the end. Again, be sure to click the links in the description. Maybe go check out my minis. If you don't want to buy a mini, but you know somebody who would, be sure to share that link with them. And hey, if you're looking to maybe get into buying or commissioning some crafty work for your nerdy interests, be sure to click the link to the Discord and see what our various crafters have to offer. As always, guys, my name is Mr. Sean. This has been another episode on Chimera Miniatures' official YouTube channel. And as always, I hope you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye!